Hello to myself and everybody else. This is video 113. So far in this one, I'm still looking at C++ stuff from the free code camp 31-hour long video. And so far in this one, I'm basically going to be covering the stuff that I was talking about in the video on classes. And so far with this, I'm going to get it set up. Alright, so far for this, just to make a class and everything and stuff too. Like, basically what a class is, from what I got from the video, it's a way to basically make your own, like, variable. Like, the same way we make, like, double int and everything and stuff like that too. Double int string. We can basically make our own variables like that. So, basically with this, in the video, it made a class called cylinder. Basically put the open curly braces and put a semicolon at the end. Same one like a concept. Except with a class, you can make this in like any C++ as well. I'm using like the basic one over here and not C++ 20. And it also works here. So in the basic C++, so that's a way it's like different from concepts. But so far with this and everything as well, in a class, the main thing you would need are basically something called method variables, which basically just normal variables. And then basically the class function. So basically what I end up doing here is basically, again, just making variables and stuff like that too, like you would for like a function. But so far, kind of like the way you will make it also in like main as well. I'll just go ahead and type it out and just basically, like, what this class does is, in the video, they basically made a class that just like gets the like radius and height and stuff of a cylinder, multiplies all that by pi, basically to find like the volume of it. So basically, again, we had two variables in the video. So double, and it will be height equals, and they just put 1.0. And double radius equals, and they just put 1.0. And so far for this, the function itself, it will basically be a thing called like this. Let me move the mouse. It will be volume, actually it'd be this, double volume, and then just like a function, you just put in there what you want. So return, and with this, it was a variable called pi times radius times height. And basically the whole thing with this is that, like, to find like the volume and stuff, it will be like the radius squared. So that's why we're just multiplying the radius twice. And then pi and height. So far for this too, there's a variable got to add for this as well. And I'm putting up here for another reason, called double pi. And this, I just copied and pasted what I had in the other video, because I'm not typing all this out again. So 3.14, and then the rest of the numbers for pi, or at least some of them. And so far with this is basically how you make a class and everything too. Just say class, the name of the class, you put the variables in there that you need for it, and then you basically just make a function, and that's how it works. So far, there is something I do have to do and everything real quick with this. So far, the variables and everything and stuff in here, by default with a class, it basically is marked as private. Basically meaning that we won't be able to like see what these are or even use or change these whatsoever. So basically, I'm just do this. By default, they're set to private. I want to do this. Private. Basically here, it just guarantees that it's private as well. So everything after this will be considered private. All these variables and stuff, private. And even like the function, everything too here will be private. So we wouldn't be able to use like anything whatsoever. Like, let me just show that too, so we just like know as well. Basically, we're going to make an object and everything and stuff here too. So we'll say cylinder, and then this is the class and everything right here, like we would declare a variable. Then we make an object, or basically the same way like a variable. So we'll call this one cylinder1. Put a semicolon there. And so we'll just do this, cout, and say cylinder volume and L. So basically this is how we would use a class. with just the name of the class and stuff right here, which will be, again, the same one that's up here. And then we just come up with whatever name we want here. Call it cylinder 1, or we could call it like whatever we want. Doesn't really matter. And then from there, we're just like currently just printing out this function here. So volume, it should by default take in pi, the height, and the radius, multiply them all together, and then just print that out. So we're going to run this real quick. And so far, again, this didn't work right here. Wait a minute. So far, I forgot to put the 1 here. Wait a minute. Okay, now we run it. Okay, yeah. So basically, this the whole thing and stuff here too and all. Because we have this private right here, everything under it is private. So we can't even use the function either. Because it says error, double cylinder volume is private within its context. So we can't even use volume whatsoever. So far, even if I just like, let me just get rid of this so we can just like also guarantee and see that it's just by default set to private. Yeah, again, it's private within its context. So by default, it's private. If I want to do this, I can do this. Say public. So that means everything under public here, we can use this. So let me run it now. There we go. See, it works. Let me also kind of label this as well too. Say cylinder 1 volume. There we go. Run it again. Yeah, so there we go. So basically cylinder 1 volume 3.14, because basically both of the height and radius are 1. So literally just getting these numbers and just multiplying by 1. So that's what it is. But basically, again, because we put public, we could use all this stuff as well. With private, we can't even like, we can use it, but we can't really like call it out. I'll basically put an example in a second. But basically, that's how you make a class and an object. This would be called an object. And basically, other things you can do with the class and stuff as well is I could say something like, let me see. So I could say cylinder 1 dot height equals like 10. And I could say cylinder 1 radius equals, let's say, 2. And from there we can basically print out what these are as well. So let me do 2 things real quick with this. Okay, there we go. So basically with this, we can do things like this as well. And let me just copy this and just put it under. There we go. So basically with this and everything too, what we did is this. We're going to print out what the height and radius is just up here. So it should both be 1. Then we're going to change them. So we're going to change the height to 10, change the radius to 2. And it should print out what they are and everything as well here. So let me run this. Yep, here it is. So basically, again, it just shows that, again, it printed the object the way we wanted to. Just print the base volume of what's already in there. It says what the height and radius are. So it's both 1. Then we can change them individually as well. Make it 10 and 2. So with the class, we can manipulate what's in here if it's public and everything like that as well. So that's the whole thing with that. Basically, this other thing we can also do, too, just to kind of show this, is that if we do the pi, so this is going to try to print out what pi is and everything as well. And again, we get an error because, again, it's private. So basically right here and everything and stuff too, because it's marked as private, we can't do anything with pi. We can't even like see what it is. Well, we kind of can't hear in the error, but like nobody can really go in and just like see what it is whatsoever unless we made it public. So with this, we can also, since it's private, since we can't like change it or anything either, so like let me do this as well. Because you already can't print it out, but let's see if we can just like change it. Just say 2. Now run it. Same thing. We can't even change it. So if our marking it as private, you either just put private there or just kind of put it without it. Means people can't even change what this is either. Basically the equivalent of doing this. Just making it constant. Nobody can change it as well. With being private, equivalent being constant. You can still use it. Just like as long as you don't specifically call it out. That's the main thing with that and stuff as well. So basically just get rid of these. And even with this, if we just copy this up here. Just the actual volume after we already changed this stuff. Run it. Yep, so you can see again, volume 1, cylinder 1 volume is the base one. Here's the height and radius. Then we change the height and radius and we get a completely different volume. So far, if you want, you can also do the exact same thing with making something called like cylinder 2. So I just make cylinder 2. And then from here, we just print out basically the same thing. In fact, let me just copy this well just to see this. There goes cylinder 2 and change it over here. So we just made a completely new object called cylinder 2. And we're going to print out the volume and height and everything as well and just see what happens. Yep, and so far, let me stretch this out. Yeah, so far again, for volume 1 and everything stuff as well, we have the basic stuff. We changed it, got a different number. With cylinder 2 and everything right here, we can see it's the same as 1, even though we changed like what the height and radius was, because this is a completely different object. So it's going to act like nothing got changed. So that's the main way you can make and use like different kind of objects and stuff too with classes. But basically that was the whole thing stuff with the video, just basically showing again, everything is private by default. If you mark it as public, then everything under it can be used and edited and stuff as well. You can make multiple objects and everything here with classes. You can manipulate what the variables and stuff are as well inside of them. And the fact that classes themselves basically are just ways of like, again, basically making your own kind of variables and stuff as well. So again, different things like that. This does seem like something that will be really important later on. I really should learn how to like use these way more efficiently, but again, I'm glad I did learn this. So that's mostly it for this video. So to myself and everybody else, see you in the next one.